In this session, we will discuss about the SharedTagContent class. It is a class which can be used to change inner content of one or more tags from a common point. Some of its features are: we can update content of multiple tags from a common point. Its shared behavior can be turned on or off. We can also set formatter to show content in different format in different consumer tags. We can detach this shared tag content from all of its consumer tags with a single method call. Listeners can be attached the listeners like the content change listener or detach listener can be attached on the shared tag content object. It is thread safe, and the consumer tags are garbage collectible. The consumer tags of the shared tag content class are garbage collectible. That means if the consumer tags are no longer in use in the UI or no longer in use, then it is eligible for garbage collection. It also allows parallel push operation when appropriate. So let's see an example. This is the body. I'm going to create a div in this body. I think for simplifying this, I have already created a div here as a class which is extended by a div tag. So I'm using it here. The second argument is in model. We don't have to do this. Okay, now it's a div. I'm going to create a shared content object here. For now, let's comment this. I'm going to create h1 this and give I have created two tags. Okay, now let's see what comes it in the UI. Some content h1, some content h2. So if we inspect the element, we can see h1 and h2. Just imagine we have the same content. So in this case, if we want to show the same content, we still have to use no tag object. And not tag object cannot be reused. That means if I am creating an object of this object cannot be reused in multiple tags. So that is the disadvantage of no tag. It is not reusable. The no tag is a kind of tag which can have only one parent. But in the case of SharedTagContent class, it can be applied to more than one tag. So how to apply this? h1.subscribe_to. Subscribe to is the method used to add this SharedTagContent class. We can also use h.addInnerHTML method. Both are almost same, but there is a minor advantage with some another advantage with using subscribe to method. I will come to that later. Let's use subscribe to method for now. So here the initial content is null, so I'm going to set so the content type is string, should be string. We can also set string. We can also use another types. Some initial content. Okay, this is the content here. Now let's compile this. So you can see the content is applied on both tags. So just imagine we are changing its content. After that, set content change. Okay, now the content changed. That should be applied on both tags. Content changed, it is applied. So we can also turn or off its shared behavior. For example, so now I'm going to now we have turned off its shared behavior. Let's see what happens. We can see after turning off its shared behavior, when we are calling the set content method, its content is not applied because we have turned off its shared behavior. So, but if you are adding a new one, for example 3, so this tag will have the updated content, the content changed, but this will not have this content because the shared behavior is turned off. Okay, some initial content. The last one is content changed, because we are adding this shared tag content after changing its content, so its latest value will be applied. We can also change this content dynamically. For example, in this case, this is a button. with button type button. This is on click, so the button name is info. So when I click this button, when we click this button, this listener will be invoked. It's only on click listener. This is the on click event attribute. So on the click of this button, I'm changing its content. So content changed inside on click. Okay, now let's see what happens. Okay, when I click on this button, this will change all of its values. You can see now. When I'm clicking on this button, it's the updated value is applied. So I'm setting this value now, right? Okay, so what happens if I am turning off its shared behavior? Set shared false. So obviously this will have the latest value, but when I'm changing its value inside this on click event, this will not be applied. You'll see. So I'm clicking on this button, but the content is not applied because we have turned off its shared behavior. So this is about the shared behavior property. So the next is setting the formatter. So why do we need a formatter? Because there are cases where we need to show content in different formats. In this case, it may be fine, but let's see another example. So the content, let's imagine it's a amount. It's an amount. Okay, STC amount in USD. So the amount in USD is 0 for now. Content. It is a log. Hi5, W5. That's it. Okay. It's 0. It's 0 in the initial time. It's 0 here. But what if I'm passing null? It will print null. Okay, but in this case, we don't want to, just imagine we don't know the amount in USD in the initial time. So we don't want to show this null value. Instead, we have to print nothing, maybe if content dot get content. Okay, wait one. Content dot get content. The second argument is whether this content is an HTML content. So obviously it is false. So the second argument here in this case, the second argument is the formatter. So it will print hyphen hyphen because this amount is null. So the second argument of this subscribe to method is the formatter object. What happens is when this formatter will be invoked before applying this content into this UI. So whatever value we are returning here, that will be applied on the tag. For example, in this case, I'm returning a content. When it is null, I'm returning a content hyphen hyphen. So this hyphen hyphen printed will be printed here because the amount is null. The content is null. Okay, so this is the idea. So let's do another case. In this case, we can also pass empty. Let's imagine it is empty, or maybe hyphen, whatever. This is amount in GBP, and this one is yen. So we have to apply the, if the amount is not null, then what should be done? We will decide here. So this amount should be in GBP, right? So USD to GBP is equal to 177. So the amount in GBP, we have converted it here. Here also the same, but it is in yen. Here I have given hyphen, in this case empty, here also it is empty when it is not. So let's try. So amount in USD, it is hyphen hyphen. GBP, it is empty, and n or it is also empty. So when I am clicking on the button, then the content is changed. So we are changing its content. So the amount in USD is 55, the amount in GBP is 42, the amount in yen is 5971.35. So this is the idea of the formatter. So formatter can be, the formatter can be used to show the content in different formats. So the shared tag content can have any type of content. So currently we have set null. We can also set any value, for example 88. Its corresponding amount in GBP is 67.76, and its corresponding amount in yen is 9554.16. So we can also do another case, something like after this STC amount set content decimal of 47. Okay, in some cases we may also need to show the amount in words. We can also do it with this formatter method. The only thing is, whatever we are returning in this method, that content will be applied on the UI, in the tag, on the tag. So this is the idea about formatter. So what is detach method? What is the use of detach method? The detach method is if we want to remove this shared tag content class from a tag, for example H3, this is a tag. This is a tag. So if we want to remove it, we can also use remove all children method, because it will inject a no tag object in this tag. So we can also call remove all children method to remove the shared tag content object from this particular tag. But what if we want to remove this shared tag content class, for example this STC amount in USD, from all of its consumer tags? In this case, we can simply use a method called detach. So false. So what happens is, when we are calling detach method, this object will be removed from all of its consumer tags, from this tag, and this tag. But when we are passing false, its currently embedded content will not be removed. If you are passing false, its currently embedded content will not be removed. But if you are passing true, then its currently applied content will also be removed. Let's see an example. But once we have detached this shared tag content class, shared tag content, and we are calling this set content method, the content will not be applied on the previous tags, because it is already removed from this tag. So currently there is no consumer tags. So let's see an example. Yes. Now you can see when I'm clicking on this button, nothing happens because when the detach method is called. So this shared tag content object is removed from all of its consumer tags. So when I'm changing its content, nothing happens. Just imagine I'm passing true in this case. So what happens is when it is called, its currently applied content will be removed from its consumer tags. Let's try that. You can see its content is also removed from its consumer tags. So, but we can, even if we are calling detach method, we are still able to attach to some other tags. Okay, some other tag means maybe we can also apply it to the same tag. Still we can reuse this object. The detach method simply removes the consumer tags. I mean, detaching the consumer tags from this shared tag content class. So there are some other overriding methods, detach methods. You can refer its Java doc for more details. So let's add a listener for its content change. How to add a content change listener? So this, just imagine here the first case h1 content change listener can be added on add content on this shared tag content class. So here we have to pass the tag object because on which tag we are listening this content change in this tag. So we have to pass that object. So the second is the second object. So the content change listener will be invoked when the content is changed on this tag. So there are cases where we can we can avoid changing content of a particular tag. For example, set content. We can also pass exclusion tags. So if I'm passing exclusion tag, for example this one, then the content change will not be applied here. So this is nothing, this is the exclusion tags. So bit decimal is 99. Okay, so when I'm changing its content, this is the exclusion tag h1. So h1, this will not be invoked. So how can I check whether this content is changed or not? Maybe I can add so inside this set content, the content change listener is invoked on h1, but let's see, in the first case let's try without exclusion tags. Okay, when I'm clicking on this button, content change listener is invoked because the content is already changed in this tag. So there will be an initial invocation because we have already called this one, right? Let's comment this. Okay, now there is no content because we haven't applied any content here. There is no content change. So the content change listener is invoked when we are calling setContent method. So let me click on this button. When I'm clicking on this button, this listener is getting invoked, and so the content change listener will also get invoked. Let's see that. You can see the content change listener is invoked on h1. So when I'm passing this object means this object as an exclusion tag, then that listener will not be invoked. Let's add this listener also here. H is the content, sorry, H is the tag. This is the change event. h1, this case it must be h2, h2. So the case is h1 message, h2 message. Okay, so when I'm changing this its value, I'm changing its value here, so it will be when if the content change listener is invoked, then it will be this message will be shown on the UI. And if the content change listener is invoked here for this tag, then this will be printed on this, printed here. Okay, so when I'm clicking on this button, you can see content change listener is invoked on h1, content change listener is invoked on h2. So the both content change listeners are invoked. So how we can set an exclusion tag? Exclusion tag means for example, the content is not applied here, but the content tag listener is invoked because the content is changed, but the listener is not getting invoked. The listener is also getting invoked. When I'm setting passing the exclusion tag, the content is not applied. So the content is not applied here. It is excluded from setting the content, but listener is invoked because there is a content change on this listener, on this tag, but it is an exclusion. So that is why the content change listener is invoked here. So let's see what are the what are the available properties of this change event. This is content applied. Let's see what is content before. Content before means before invoking this formatter method, what was the content? So that is what we are getting here in this method. In this is the content before, and change event get content after. So after applying this content using the formatter, so what is the content? So that is what it will return. So basically it will be the object of the returned content. And what is this one? Content, the content after may not be the same one. The content applied may be, the content applied is the content after means the same value, what the updated value, the value we are passing here, this will be the content applied. The content after. The content applied means what value we are returning by this formatter. That is what we will get in this with this method, content applied. So let's print what is the content applied. In this case, it could be, let's see what it will print. We can see it is 99 here because this content applied, the content applied means what is the outcome of this formatter, that is what we are returning, we are getting here. In this case it is 99 because the outcome of this formatter is 99. So let's print this value, content before. It is null because the content before we are calling uh, before calling this method, its content was null, so it is printed null here. You can see. And let's see content after. So content after is, what is the content after? I mean setting the content, maybe like what we are passing in this method. So it must be 99. Sorry, the content. Content. So these are the basic features of a SharedTagContent class. There are some other features like thread safety, parallel operation. We will discuss those details in the next session. But basically, if we say some basics about the parallel operation, then we can, there is something called set update client nature. So this is update client nature, this is the method, this is the property. So if you are changing this property, there are different properties for this. We can also refer its Java doc for its details. So if we are setting this one, then it will allow parallel operation for the push operation only when it is applicable. So we will discuss more details about it in the next session. Thank you.